there's one election coming up that could determine who's the next president of the United States, let alone whether women have a right to choose in this particular state. But it affects the whole country. It's a local election. It's in Wisconsin. Now, to help talk about it, we brought on Brianna Wu, Executive Director of Rebellion PAC. And Rebellion PAC is involved in this race. So Brianna, first of all, welcome. And then secondly, tell us what's the race about and why is it this important?
It's so good to be here, Cenk. This is the race of 2023. If you can only focus on one race for this entire year, this is the one to care about. This is the race that it's not just going to determine if Wisconsin women have access to abortion. It's going to determine the entire electoral map for Wisconsin, and it could very well determine the 2024 election. This SCOTUS just last year ruled to get rid of all drop boxes. They tried to throw out Biden ballots. So really getting balance on this court and having them make decisions in the public interest, it could not be more critical.
So Wisconsin Supreme Court has 4 conservatives on it, 3 liberals. One of the conservatives is retiring, so this could change the court if the more liberal candidate wins. Rebellion PAC, of course, is supporting the progressive candidate. There's a couple of different issues here. First, on the issue of abortion, why does it matter so much? Why would the Supreme Court be able to decide it in the case of Wisconsin?
Well, basically the laws have reverted back to where they were. Gosh, I believe it was like 100 years ago, right? So the law with the dissolution of Roe, the old abortion laws have kicked in. So you can certainly not count on the Republicans to do anything to rectify this. So this really is going to determine the future of abortion access in Wisconsin. And even though it's supposedly a nonpartisan race, Judge Janet has been very clear that she believes it's a woman's right to choose, and that's the candidate we want to get behind. In fact, it is that issue, which is why this is the most expensive judicial race in American history. The Republicans are just dumping tons of money in because they cannot win on this issue the honest way. They try to cheat it in the court system. So it's really important that we get the right people in there to fight back.
Yeah, and so we'll get to what Rebellion PAC is doing in a second, but so people understand why it makes a difference. The law that Brianna is referring to is from 1849. And so either the court will say, oh yeah, that's what the citizens today mean the same thing they meant in 1849, or no, don't be ridiculous, it's an antiquated law, like you have to stop at a stop sign and honk before you leave and get out of your car. There's like leftover laws like that. So the court's gonna decide, and they're gonna decide, let's keep it real, they're gonna decide it on political considerations. And Brianna's right. If they did a ballot measure, well, then the answer is obvious. The voters of Wisconsin are definitely pro-choice. The voters of almost every state are pro-choice. Kansas did a ballot measure and pro-choice won by 19 points in Kansas. So this is the Republicans trying to get the laws through activist judges, ironically, rather than the people. So that's definitely true in the case of the right to choose. But the reason it affects the whole nation is because the guy, the right winger running, Brianna, looks like he was involved in the fake elector scam. And Wisconsin is an absolutely critical swing state. So if he's on the Supreme Court, what are the implications there?
Well, it's exactly what you think. I mean, this is the SCOTUS that's already working to basically make the election less fair and make it harder to vote. If you have somebody that's been involved in that, I mean, it's easy to draw the line here. So it's absolutely about it being fair in 2024. The thing that I think is really under discussed here is the gerrymandering. Judge Janet is very much on the record saying she does not feel the election maps in Wisconsin were drawn fairly. She thinks they were drawn in a partisan way that gives one side a huge advantage. This is about really opening the doors and having these electoral maps drawn fairly in a way that represents people. So it just, the stakes could not be any higher here. And please do not forget, like once again, the Wisconsin Supreme Court came this close to throwing out a ton of Biden ballots in 2020. Is very arguable unbelievable. If they had ruled a different way, that Wisconsin would not have gone the right way. With the dissolution of Roe, we've seen what happens when we don't pay attention to the judiciary. The simple fact is people lose their rights. So it's critical we get out there and win this race, and that's what we're gonna do.
No, guys, the great irony here is that Republicans desperately need activist judges. Because on all three of these issues, if it went to ballot measures and went to democracy, they have no chance of winning. So if you said to people, hey, choice or being against choice, it'd be overwhelming in Wisconsin. They'd definitely be a pro-choice state. Okay, if you said on the gerrymandering issue, okay, look at these absurd Mickey Mouse lines that they drew up so that the politicians pick their voters instead of the voters picking the politicians. Everybody's gonna vote no, even right-wingers are gonna vote no. No, this is absurd. These are silly districts. No, you're supposed to represent us. You can't say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna draw a district so it's 90% Republican or 90% Democrat so that I have a safe seat. And then on the issue of, hey, should you be in favor of the real electors of Wisconsin or the fake electors of Wisconsin? That's not gonna be a hard one either, okay? So, but that's why this race matters so much and it matters for the whole country. So when's the race, Brianna? And then what is Rebellion PAC doing?
So early voting's already started. This is on April 4th, so there's not a lot of time. And one of the things we are doing this weekend is we are leading a massive canvassing effort. You can go to helptherebellion.com and sign up. We are going to make 50,000 phone calls, and we are going to knock on 1,000 doors this weekend with our volunteers. If you can come help us, we can double that number. I want to say, just to put this in context, knocking on 1,000 doors, Biden only won Wisconsin by 20,000 votes. So every single door we knock on matters, and it really counts. And Cenk, I really want to give Twitch and YouTube credit. TYT Army has been just spectacular with us in the past. And this time around, it's Destiny's Community, DGG. They've done a ton of work helping win this. They never got credited for their work in Georgia. Vosh's community has done a ton of work on this as well. So this really is younger people getting out there, understanding what America is turning into and fighting back.
Yeah, it's the younger generation on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch that's making the difference. And by the way, if that younger generation had not showed up at greater levels than they did in 2016, Biden would have lost Wisconsin. And so young folks are absolutely positively have to vote. There's actually a lot more younger voters than there are older voters in this country. You just have to vote in that in the same percentages. If you do, it's good night, Irene. The whole country is going to be progressive. But right now, we need you in Wisconsin. So if you can either, whether it's funds or volunteering, helptherebellion.com. But whatever you do, if you're in Wisconsin, not only to protect women, to protect all the people in Wisconsin, but to protect everyone in the country, please vote on April 4th. Vote on April 4th. helptherebellion.com. Brianna, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Cenk. Talk soon.